Maya Rodriguez sat on her bedroom floor with her old guitar resting on her lap. The wooden instrument had seen better days. Its paint was chipped in places and one of the tuning pegs was loose. But to Maya it was perfect. She had bought it 3 years ago from a pawn shop, with money she saved from her part-time job at the local grocery store. The 17-year-old girl lived with her mother and younger brother in a small apartment on the east side of town. Her mother worked 2 jobs to keep their family going. She cleaned offices at night and worked at a diner during the day. Maya often watched her mother come home tired, her feet hurting from standing all day. This gave Maya many ideas for her songs. Maya had always been different from other kids at Lincoln High School. While they talked about movies and video games, she thought about the world around her. She noticed things that others seemed to miss. She saw how some students came to school hungry because their families did not have enough money for breakfast. She watched kids worry about paying for college when they could barely afford their school supplies. These thoughts filled her mind and found their way into her music. Maya would sit in her room for hours, writing lyrics in a worn notebook. The pages were filled with her thoughts about life, fairness, and hope. She wrote about her mother's tired hands and her brother's dreams of becoming a doctor. She wrote about friends who felt sad but could not tell anyone why. Music had become Maya's way of talking to the world. When she felt angry about something unfair, she wrote a song. When she felt sad about a friend's problems, she played her guitar. The melody seemed to flow from her heart through her fingers to the strings. At school, Maya was quiet in most of her classes. She got good grades but rarely spoke up during discussions. Her teachers thought she was shy. They did not know that inside her head, Maya was always writing songs. During math class, she would think of rhymes. During history lessons, she would create melodies. The only place Maya felt truly comfortable was in the corner of the school courtyard during lunchtime. She would sit under a large oak tree with her guitar case beside her. At first, she just played softly to herself. The music helped her relax during the busy school day. One day, her friend Carlos heard her playing. He was walking by when the sound of her guitar caught his attention. Carlos stopped and listened. Maya was playing a song about feeling lost in a world that seemed to move too fast. The words were simple but powerful. They talked about young people trying to find their place in life. "That was amazing," Carlos said when Maya finished. "Did you write that yourself?" Maya felt her cheeks turn red. She was not used to people listening to her music. "Yes, I wrote it last week," she said quietly. "You should play for more people," Carlos told her. That song made me feel less alone. Maya thought about what Carlos said. She had never considered sharing her music with others. Her songs were personal. They came from her heart and her experiences. But maybe other people felt the same way she did. Maybe her songs could help them too. The next day, Maya brought her guitar to the courtyard again. This time she played a little louder. A few students walking by slowed down to listen. One girl sat down on a nearby bench. Then another student joined her. By the end of the song, Maya had a small audience of about 10 people. They clapped when she finished, and Maya felt something she had never experienced before. Her music had connected with other people. They understood what she was trying to say through her songs. "What was that song about?" asked a girl named Sarah. Maya took a deep breath. It was about feeling worried about the future, about not having enough money for college and wondering if things will ever get better. Several students nodded. They knew exactly what she meant. Many of them had the same worries. "Could you play another one?" asked a boy Maya recognized from her English class. Maya played a song she had written about mental health. It talked about feeling sad but not knowing why. It mentioned how young people often felt pressure to be perfect all the time. The song encouraged people to talk about their feelings instead of keeping them inside. When she finished, the courtyard was quiet for a moment. Then the students began talking among themselves. They shared their own experiences with feeling overwhelmed or sad. Maya realized her music had started important conversations. Word began to spread through the school. Students would tell their friends about the girl who played guitar and sang about real life. Maya's lunchtime audience grew from 10 people to 20, then 30. She wrote new songs almost every night, inspired by the stories her classmates shared with her. Maya wrote a song about the student who worked at a fast food restaurant every night to help his family pay rent. She wrote about the girl who felt pressure to get perfect grades even though she was already doing her best. She created melodies for the kids who felt different and did not fit in with the popular groups. Each song came from a real place, Maya never wrote about things she did not understand. She wrote about her own life and the lives of the people around her. Her music was honest and real, which made it powerful. Her mother noticed the change in Maya. The quiet girl who used to come straight home after school was now staying later. She seemed happier and more confident. When Maya told her mother about her lunchtime concerts, her mother smiled with pride. "Music has always been in your heart," her mother said. "I am glad you are sharing it with others." Maya's younger brother, Diego, became one of her biggest fans. He would ask her to play her songs at home, and he memorized many of the lyrics. Sometimes he would suggest ideas for new songs based on things he noticed at his middle school. As winter turned to spring, Maya's daily performances became a regular part of life at Lincoln High School. Students would finish eating their lunch quickly so they could find a good spot to listen. Some brought friends from other schools to hear Maya play. Maya had found her voice, and she was using it to speak for her generation. She sang about their struggles, their hopes, and their dreams. Her simple songs with honest words were creating something special in the corner of the school courtyard. Maya did not know it yet, but she was about to face the biggest challenge of her young life. The school administration had begun to notice the crowds gathering around the girl with the guitar. And not everyone was happy about what Maya had to say. The first video appeared on social media on a Tuesday morning. Jessica, a junior at Lincoln High School, had recorded Maya's performance from the day before using her phone. The video was shaky and the sound was not perfect, but Maya's voice came through clearly as she sang about student debt and the fear of not being able to afford college. Jessica posted the video with a simple message. "This girl at my school writes the most real songs ever. Everyone needs to hear this." Within hours, the video had dozens of views. Students from Lincoln High School began sharing it with friends at other schools. By the end of the day, it had over 300 views. The comment section filled with messages from young people who felt the same way Maya did. "This is exactly how I feel about college," wrote one viewer. "Finally, someone singing about real problem," wrote another. Maya did not know about the video until Carlos showed it to her the next morning before first period. "You are famous," Carlos said, holding up his phone. Maya stared at the screen in shock. She saw herself sitting under the oak tree, playing her guitar for the small crowd. The video made her performance look more official than it felt in real life. "I cannot believe someone recorded me," Maya said. "Are you upset?" Carlos asked. Maya thought for a moment. She felt nervous about people she did not know watching her sing, but she also felt excited that her message was reaching more people. "I think it is okay," Maya said finally. "Maybe it will help someone." That day at lunch, Maya noticed her audience was bigger than usual. Instead of the regular 30 or 40 students, nearly 60 people gathered around the oak tree. Some faces were new. Maya recognized a few students from other grades who had never come to her performances before. Maya played 3 songs that day. The first was about feeling pressure to choose a career path when you are still figuring out who you are. The second talked about watching your parents work multiple jobs and wishing you could help them more. The third song was new. Maya had written it the night before about the importance of speaking up when you see something wrong happening. When she finished the third song, a senior named Marcus raised his hand. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. Maya nodded. "How do you know exactly what we are all thinking? It is like you read our minds and then write songs about it." Maya smiled. "I do not read minds. I just pay attention to what is happening around me. I listen to what people say and what they do not say. Then I write about it." "Well, keep doing it," said a girl named Amanda. "Your songs make me feel less crazy for worrying about things." That afternoon, 3 more students posted videos of Maya's performance. Each video showed a different song from a different angle. The comments kept growing. Students from schools across the city began asking if Maya ever performed anywhere else. Maya's English teacher, Mrs. Patterson, pulled her aside after class the next day. "I saw one of the videos of you performing," Mrs. Patterson said. "Your lyrics are very thoughtful. Have you ever considered entering a songwriting contest?" Maya had never thought about contests. She wrote songs for herself and her classmates, not for judges. "I do not know if my songs are good enough for contests," Maya said. "They absolutely are," Mrs. Patterson replied. "You have a gift for putting complex feelings into simple words. That is not easy to do." The conversation with Mrs. Patterson made Maya think about her music in a new way. Maybe her songs were more than just her personal thoughts. Maybe they could reach even more people. By Friday of that week, Maya's lunchtime audience had grown to over 80 people. Students sat on the ground, stood against trees, and even watched from classroom windows that faced the courtyard. The original oak tree could not provide enough shade for everyone, so people spread out across the entire area. Maya felt overwhelmed by the attention but also energized. She could see in people's faces that her songs mattered to them. When she sang about mental health, she watched students nod along as if she was speaking directly to them. When she played her song about environmental concerns, she saw kids pull out their phones to take notes on organizations she mentioned. That weekend, Maya spent hours writing new material. She had so many ideas that she filled an entire notebook. She wrote about the pressure social media put on young people to look perfect all the time. She created a song about friends who felt left out because they could not afford the same clothes and activities as their classmates. Maya also wrote her first song that was not sad or serious. It was about the power of friendship and how good friends help each other through difficult times. She wanted to balance her message and show that even though life was hard sometimes, there were also reasons to be hopeful. On Monday morning, Maya found a note in her locker. It was from a student she did not know very well. "Dear Maya," the note said, "I wanted to thank you for your song about feeling sad for no reason. I have been feeling that way for months, but I was afraid to tell anyone. After hearing your song, I talked to my parents and we are going to get me some help. Your music probably saved my life. Thank you." The note was not signed, but it made Maya cry happy tears in the hallway. She realized her music was doing more than entertaining people. It was actually helping them. That day's performance drew the biggest crowd yet. Maya estimated that over 100 people were listening. Some students brought friends from other schools. A few parents had even showed up after hearing about Maya from their children. Maya played 4 songs, including the hopeful one about friendship. The crowd clapped loudly after each song. When she finished, several students approached her to talk. "Could you write a song about immigrants?" asked a girl whose family had moved to the United States when she was young. "I think a lot of people do not understand what it is like." "What about a song for kids whose parents are divorced?" suggested another student. Maya listened to all the requests. She realized that every student had a story that deserved to be heard. Her music had become a voice for experiences that were often ignored or misunderstood. As Maya packed up her guitar that day, she noticed Principal Johnson watching from his office window. He was too far away for her to read his expression, but she could tell he was paying attention to what was happening in the courtyard. Maya felt a small worry in her stomach. She wondered what the principal thought about her performances. So far, no teachers or administrators had said anything negative about her music, but Maya had a feeling that was about to change. That night, Maya's mother asked her about the videos that were spreading online. "Some of my co-workers have seen them," her mother said. "They are very proud of what you are doing, but they also warned me that sometimes when young people speak up about important issues, adults try to silence them." Maya had not thought about that possibility. Her music felt innocent to her. She was just singing about her life and the lives of her friends. But maybe some adults saw it differently. "What should I do?" Maya asked her mother. Her mother hugged her tightly. "Keep singing your truth," she said. "But be prepared for people who might not want to hear it." Maya went to bed that night feeling excited about her growing audience, but also nervous about what might come next. She had no idea that her simple lunchtime concerts were about to become the center of a much bigger conversation about student rights and freedom of expression. Principal Johnson sat in his office on Monday morning, looking at his computer screen with concern. Over the weekend, he had received 5 emails and 3 phone calls about Maya Rodriguez and her lunchtime performances. The messages were not friendly. The first email came from Mrs. Henderson, a school board member who lived in the wealthy part of town. She wrote that Maya's songs were inappropriate for school grounds and too political for young minds. She said that schools should focus on education, not social activism. The second complaint came from a parent who was upset about Maya's song regarding mental health. The parent believed that talking about depression and anxiety would make students feel worse, not better. They wanted the school to stop allowing such negative influences during school hours. The most serious complaint came from board member Mr. Crenshaw. He had watched several of Maya's videos online and was angry about her song concerning student debt and college costs. He said Maya was filling students' heads with unrealistic expectations and making them blame society for their problems instead of working harder. Principal Johnson rubbed his temples. He had been the principal of Lincoln High School for 8 years. He had seen many student activities come and go, but nothing had generated this kind of attention before. The truth was, Principal Johnson had mixed feelings about Maya's performances. As an educator, he appreciated that she was engaging students in meaningful conversations about real issues. Her music was clearly connecting with young people in a way that regular classroom discussions often failed to do. But as an administrator, he had to consider the complaints from parents and school board members. These were the people who could affect his job security and the school's funding. He could not simply ignore their concerns. Principal Johnson decided to observe Maya's next performance himself. On Tuesday, he stood at his office window during lunchtime and watched as students gathered around the oak tree. He counted at least 120 students in the crowd, plus a few adults he did not recognize. Maya sang 3 songs that day. The first was about environmental problems and what young people could do to help. The second talked about the importance of voting and being involved in democracy. The third song encouraged students to be kind to classmates who seemed lonely or different. Principal Johnson found himself nodding along to some of Maya's lyrics. Her messages were positive and thoughtful. She was encouraging students to be engaged citizens and caring human beings. These seemed like good values for a school to support. However, he could see why some people might consider her songs political. Maya did talk about social issues and systemic problems. She mentioned specific policies and encouraged students to think critically about the world around them. In today's divided climate, even talking about kindness could be seen as taking a political position. After lunch, Principal Johnson called Maya to his office. Maya had never been called to the principal's office before. She felt nervous as she walked down the hallway, wondering if she was in trouble. "Please sit down, Maya," Principal Johnson said when she arrived. Maya sat in the chair across from his desk and waited. "I want to talk to you about your lunchtime performances," he began. "I have been receiving complaints from some community members who are concerned about the content of your songs." Maya felt her heart start beating faster. "What kind of complaints?" she asked. "Some people feel that your songs are too political for school grounds. Others think that discussing topics like mental health and social problems might upset students or distract them from their studies." Maya was confused. "But my songs help people. Students tell me all the time that my music makes them feel less alone. How can that be bad?" Principal Johnson sighed. He could see that Maya genuinely believed she was helping her classmates. "I understand your intentions are good, Maya, and I can see that students enjoy your performances. But I have to balance your desire to perform with the concerns of parents and school board members." "What does that mean?" Maya asked. "It means I need you to be more careful about the topics you choose for your songs. Perhaps you could focus on lighter subjects that would not generate complaints." Maya felt a knot forming in her stomach. "You want me to stop singing about real problems?" "I want you to sing about things that will not cause controversy," Principal Johnson explained. "There are many beautiful topics you could explore. Love, friendship, nature, dreams for the future. You do not have to focus on heavy social issues." Maya stared at him in disbelief. The songs he was describing sounded nothing like her music. Her whole purpose was to give voice to experiences that were usually ignored or dismissed. If she could only sing about light topics, her music would lose all its meaning. "Those problems I sing about are real," Maya said quietly. "Students are worried about paying for college. They do struggle with mental health. They do care about the environment and social justice. If I do not sing about these things, who will?" Principal Johnson understood Maya's point, but he also had to protect his position and the school's reputation. "Maya, I am not trying to silence you. I am just asking you to consider your audience and the setting. This is a public school with students from many different backgrounds and families with different beliefs. But that is exactly why my music matters," Maya responded. "It brings people together around shared experiences. I have seen students from different groups sitting together at my performances, talking to each other about things they never discussed before." Principal Johnson had noticed this too. Maya's performances had created an unusual sense of community at Lincoln High School. Students who normally never interacted were having conversations about important topics. But community building was not worth the political headaches he was facing. "I need you to think about what I have said," Principal Johnson told Maya. "I will give you some time to consider how you might adjust your performances to be more appropriate for our school environment." Maya left the principal's office feeling angry and confused. She had always followed school rules. Her grades were good, she was never in trouble, and she treated everyone with respect. Now she was being told that her music, the thing that brought her the most joy and seemed to help other people, was somehow wrong. That evening, Maya called her friend Carlos to tell him about the meeting. "They want you to stop singing about real things?" Carlos asked in disbelief. "Pretty much," Maya replied. "He wants me to sing about friendship and nature instead of student debt and mental health." "That is ridiculous," Carlos said. "Your songs are the most honest things I have ever heard. Why should you have to pretend that our problems do not exist?" Maya spent that night thinking about Principal Johnson's request. She understood that he was in a difficult position, but she also felt strongly that her music served an important purpose. Her songs gave students permission to talk about struggles they usually kept secret. They created connections between people who felt isolated and misunderstood. The next day at lunch, Maya's audience was larger than ever. Word had spread that she might be forced to change her music, and students wanted to show their support. Over 150 people gathered in the courtyard, including several teachers who had never attended before. Maya decided to perform one of her most powerful songs. It was about feeling voiceless in a world where adults made decisions about young people's lives without asking for their input. The song talked about the importance of listening to different perspectives and treating everyone with dignity. As she sang, Maya noticed Principal Johnson watching from his window again. She also saw a few adults she did not recognize standing at the edge of the crowd. She suspected they might be school board members or parents who had complained about her music. When Maya finished the song, the crowd erupted in applause. Several students stood up and cheered. A teacher named Mr. Garcia approached Maya after the performance. "That was beautiful," he said. "Do not let anyone convince you to stop sharing your truth." But Maya could see the concern in Principal Johnson's face as he watched from his office. She realized that her meeting with him had not solved anything. In fact, by continuing to perform her original songs, she had probably made things worse. That afternoon, Maya found a note in her locker. It was from Principal Johnson, asking her to come to his office first thing the next morning. Maya knew this meeting would be different from the first one. She could feel that a line had been drawn and she had crossed it. As Maya walked home that day, she thought about what her mother had told her. Be prepared for people who might not want to hear your truth. That moment had arrived sooner than Maya expected. She had to decide whether she was willing to fight for her right to keep singing her songs, or if she would give in to the pressure and change her music to make adults more comfortable. Maya spent that evening writing in her notebook, but for the first time she was not writing songs. She was writing down her thoughts about freedom, expression, and what it meant to stand up for what you believe in. Tomorrow she would have to make one of the most important decisions of her young life. Maya walked into Principal Johnson's office the next morning with her guitar case in hand. She had not slept well the night before, spending hours thinking about what she would say during this meeting. Her mother had offered to come with her, but Maya wanted to face this situation on her own. Principal Johnson looked tired too. He had spent the evening on phone calls with angry school board members and frustrated parents. The pressure from above was increasing, and he knew he had to take stronger action. "Thank you for coming in, Maya," he said as she sat down. "I watched your performance yesterday, and I am disappointed that you chose to continue singing the same type of songs we discussed." Maya took a deep breath. "Mr. Johnson, I understand you are getting complaints, but I have the right to express myself. The First Amendment protects student speech, and I am not disrupting classes or breaking any school rules." Principal Johnson was surprised by Maya's response. He had expected her to be more apologetic or willing to compromise. Instead, she was talking about constitutional rights like a lawyer. "Maya, the First Amendment does not give students unlimited freedom to say whatever they want at school," he replied. "Schools have the authority to regulate student expression when it creates disruption or goes against educational goals." "How is my music disruptive?" Maya asked. "Students come to listen during their free time. I perform in the courtyard during lunch break when no classes are happening. Nobody is forced to listen if they do not want to. The disruption is not just about noise or crowds, Principal Johnson explained. Some parents believe your songs are putting inappropriate ideas in students' heads. They think you are encouraging young people to be angry at society instead of focusing on their studies. Maya felt frustrated. My songs encourage students to think about the world around them and care about important issues. How is that inappropriate? Principal Johnson could see that Maya was not going to back down easily. He had hoped she would agree to modify her songs, but it was clear she had no intention of changing her message. Maya, I am giving you one final warning, he said firmly. If you continue to perform songs with political or controversial content on school grounds, I will have to take disciplinary action. What kind of disciplinary action? Maya asked. I will confiscate your guitar and suspend you from school, Principal Johnson replied. I do not want to do this, Maya, but you are forcing my hand. Maya stared at him in disbelief. She had never imagined that singing songs about real life could lead to suspension from school. You would really suspend me for singing about student debt and mental health? She asked. I would suspend you for refusing to follow administrative guidance and continuing to create controversy that distracts from our educational mission, Principal Johnson corrected. Maya left the meeting feeling angry and scared. She had never been in trouble at school before, and the thought of being suspended terrified her, but the idea of stopping her music terrified her even more. At lunch that day, Maya stood in front of her largest audience yet. Nearly 200 students had gathered in the courtyard, along with several teachers and a few community members who had heard about the situation. News of Maya's conflict with the administration had spread through social media, and supporters were coming to show solidarity. Maya looked out at the crowd and made her decision. She would not let fear stop her from doing what she believed was right. I want to tell you all something before I start today, Maya said loudly so everyone could hear. Principal Johnson has told me that if I continue singing my songs, I will be suspended from school, and they will take away my guitar. The crowd began murmuring with shock and anger. Several students called out in support. That is not fair, shouted one student. You have the right to sing, yelled another. Maya raised her hand to quiet the crowd. I have thought about this a lot, and I have decided that some things are more important than staying out of trouble. If standing up for our right to talk about real issues gets me suspended, then I guess I will be suspended. The crowd cheered loudly. Maya opened her guitar case and pulled out her instrument. She began with her most powerful song about young people finding their voice in a world that often ignored them. As she sang, Maya could see Principal Johnson watching from his office window. She could also see Assistant Principal Martinez walking toward the courtyard with a serious expression on her face. Maya continued singing even as she watched Assistant Principal Martinez push through the crowd toward her. The students around Maya moved closer, as if trying to protect her with their bodies. When Maya finished the first song, Assistant Principal Martinez was standing right in front of her. Maya, I need you to stop performing and come with me immediately, she said. Why? Maya asked. I am not breaking any rules. You are defying direct administrative orders and creating an unsafe situation with this crowd, Assistant Principal Martinez replied. Maya looked around at her audience. The students were sitting peacefully on the ground and standing quietly against trees. They were listening respectfully and clapping politely. She could not see how this was unsafe. I do not see any unsafe situation, Maya said. These students are behaving perfectly well. Maya, you need to put down the guitar and come with me now, Assistant Principal Martinez said more firmly. Maya felt her heart pounding, but she also felt a strange sense of calm. She had made her choice and she was ready to face the consequences. I'm going to finish my song, Maya said. Then I will come with you. She began playing again, this time singing a song about the importance of standing up for what you believe in even when it is difficult. The crowd was completely silent except for Maya's voice and guitar. As Maya sang, Assistant Principal Martinez reached forward and grabbed the neck of her guitar. Give me the instrument. Maya, she said. No, Maya replied, holding onto her guitar. This is my property. Not when you are using it to defy school authority, Assistant Principal Martinez said. She pulled harder on the guitar. The crowd of students began to get upset. They started booing and calling out in protest. Someone was recording the confrontation with their phone. Let her finish the song, shouted Carlos. "This is not right," yelled Sarah. Maya realized the situation was getting tense and she did not want her friends to get in trouble too. She let go of her guitar and allowed Assistant Principal Martinez to take it. "There," Maya said. "Are you happy now?" The crowd watched in shocked silence as Assistant Principal Martinez carried Maya's guitar away. Maya followed her toward the main building, feeling humiliated but also proud of herself for not giving up. In the principal's office, Maya was told she was being suspended for 3 days for defying administrative authority and creating a disruption. She was also informed that her guitar would be held in the office until her parents came to pick it up. "You brought this on yourself." "Maya," Principal Johnson said, "I gave you multiple opportunities to compromise and you chose to escalate the situation instead." "I chose to exercise my constitutional rights," Maya replied. "There is a difference." That afternoon, Maya's mother came to school to collect her daughter and the guitar. She was angry about the suspension but proud of Maya for standing up for her beliefs. "Sometimes doing the right thing comes with a price," her mother told her as they walked to the car. That evening, the video of Maya's guitar being confiscated began spreading rapidly on social media. Students at Lincoln High School were sharing it with friends at other schools. Parents and community members were commenting with outrage at how Maya had been treated. Maya sat in her bedroom that night, holding her guitar and feeling a mixture of sadness and determination. She had been silenced at school, but she was not ready to give up. If anything, the administration's heavy-handed response had made her more committed to her cause. The fight for Maya's right to express herself was just beginning. And soon she would discover that she had more support than she ever imagined. The video of Maya's guitar being taken away spread faster than anyone expected. Within 24 hours of her suspension, the recording had been viewed over 50,000 times. Students from Lincoln High School shared it with friends who shared it with their friends, creating a chain reaction across social media platforms. Maya spent her first day of suspension at home, feeling sad and defeated. She tried to practice guitar, but her heart was not in it. Every time she looked at her instrument, she remembered the moment when Assistant Principal Martinez pulled it away from her in front of all those students. Her younger brother, Diego, tried to cheer her up by playing her songs on his phone and singing along. But even that made Maya feel worse. She wondered if she would ever be able to perform at school again. On the second day of her suspension, Maya's mother showed her something surprising. Local news station Channel 7 had picked up the story about Maya's suspension. The news reporter talked about student free speech rights and interviewed several Lincoln High School students who supported Maya. "I cannot believe this is on the news," Maya said as she watched herself being interviewed on camera from a few weeks earlier. "Your story is bigger than just our school now," her mother replied. "People all over the city are talking about what happened to you." That same day, Maya received an unexpected phone call. The caller introduced herself as Maria Santos from the American Civil Liberties Union. "We have been following your situation, Maya," Maria said. "We believe your First Amendment rights may have been violated and we would like to offer our help." Maya had heard of the ACLU but never thought they would be interested in her case. "What kind of help?" she asked. "We have lawyers who specialize in student rights cases," Maria explained. "We could review what happened and potentially challenge the school's actions if we believe they were unconstitutional." Maya felt a spark of hope for the first time since her suspension. Maybe she was not as powerless as she had thought. The story continued to grow throughout the week. A popular music blog called Young Voices wrote an article about Maya titled "The High School Student Taking On Censorship with a Guitar." The article included clips of Maya's songs and interviews with students who had been impacted by her music. Local musicians began reaching out through social media to express their support. Jake Morrison, who played guitar at coffee shops around the city, posted a video of himself playing one of Maya's songs and talking about the importance of artistic freedom. "This young woman is doing exactly what artists are supposed to do," Jake said in his video. "She is speaking truth and connecting with people through her music. The fact that adults are trying to silence her shows how powerful her voice really is." By the end of Maya's 3-day suspension, a group of local business owners had contacted her family. They owned coffee shops, bookstores, and small venues around the city. They wanted to offer Maya places to perform while she was banned from playing at school. "We believe in supporting young artists," said Mrs. Chen, who owned a popular coffee shop downtown. Maya is welcome to perform here anytime she wants. Maya felt overwhelmed by all the support, but also confused about what to do next. She had always seen her music as something personal and small. Now it seemed like her story had become part of a much larger conversation about student rights and freedom of expression. When Maya returned to school after her suspension, she found hundreds of students wearing t-shirts that said, "Let Maya sing." Her friend Carlos had organized the effort using money raised through a crowdfunding website. Students from other schools had also ordered shirts and were wearing them in solidarity. "We are not going to let them silence you," Carlos told Maya as she walked through the hallways seeing all the support. During lunch that first day back, Maya sat under the oak tree without her guitar, which was still being held by the administration. Over 200 students gathered around her anyway. They wanted to show that their support had not faded during her absence. One student had printed out the lyrics to Maya's songs. Another had brought a portable speaker. Together, the entire crowd sang Maya's songs without any instruments at all. Their voices filled the courtyard with the same messages Maya had been sharing for months. Principal Johnson watched from his office window with a troubled expression. The situation had clearly grown beyond what he had anticipated. Instead of ending Maya's influence, the suspension had made her more popular and turned her into a symbol of student rights. That afternoon, Maya received another important phone call. This time it was from Jennifer Walsh, a reporter from the state's largest newspaper. She wanted to do a feature story about Maya and the broader issue of student expression rights. "Your case is part of a national conversation," Jennifer explained. "Similar incidents are happening at schools across the country. Where administrators are limiting student speech they consider too political or controversial." Maya agreed to the interview, but she felt nervous about the growing attention. She had never wanted to be famous. She just wanted to sing her songs and help her classmates feel less alone. The newspaper article came out the following Sunday and was shared widely online. It included quotes from constitutional law experts who explained that students do have free speech rights at school, though those rights are not unlimited. "The key question," said Professor Davis from the State University, "is whether Maya's songs created a substantial disruption to the educational environment. From what I have seen, these were peaceful lunchtime gatherings where students voluntarily chose to listen. That should be protected speech." The article also included responses from school officials, though they were careful not to say too much since the situation was still ongoing. "We support student expression," said school district spokesperson Mr. Williams. "But we also have to balance individual rights with the needs of the entire school community." As the story gained more attention, Maya began receiving messages from students at other schools who were facing similar situations. A girl in Oregon had been told to stop wearing a t-shirt with environmental slogans. A boy in Texas was disciplined for writing about immigration issues in the school newspaper. "I feel like we are all connected now," Maya told her mother as she read through the messages. "All of us who want to speak up about things that matter." Maya's mother was proud but also worried about the stress her daughter was under. "This is a lot of pressure for someone your age," she said. "Are you sure you want to keep fighting this?" Maya thought about the question seriously. The past week had been overwhelming, and she knew it would probably get more intense before it was over. But she also thought about all the students who had told her that her songs helped them. She thought about the messages from young people at other schools who were facing their own battles for the right to express themselves. "Yes," Maya said finally, "I want to keep fighting. Not just for me, but for everyone who wants to have a voice." That week, Maya learned that a group of parents had started a petition supporting her right to perform at school. It already had over 3,000 signatures from people in the community. At the same time, she found out that the parents who originally complained about her music had organized their own petition, calling for stricter limits on student political expression. Maya realized that her simple lunchtime concerts had divided the community into two camps. Some people saw her as a brave young woman standing up for important principles. Others saw her as a troublemaker who was disrupting the educational environment and pushing inappropriate political messages. As Maya prepared for what she knew would be a long battle ahead, she wrote a new song. This one was about finding strength in difficult times and not giving up when faced with opposition. She had a feeling she would need that strength in the days to come. The community had rallied around Maya, But she was about to discover that having support was only the beginning. The real fight for her right to sing was just getting started. Maya stood at her bedroom window looking across the street at Roosevelt Park. The small park sat directly across from Lincoln High School, separated only by a quiet street and a sidewalk. Maya had walked through that park hundreds of times on her way to and from school, but she had never really paid attention to it before. Now, as she stared at the open grass area surrounded by trees, Maya had an idea that made her heart beat faster with excitement. The idea came to her during a phone call with Maria Santos from the ACLU. Maria had explained that while schools could limit student speech on school property, they had no authority over what students did in public spaces off campus. If you wanted to perform in a public park during lunchtime, Maria had said, the school could not stop you. As long as you are not on school grounds, you have the same free speech rights as any other citizen. Maya realized that Roosevelt Park was the perfect solution. Students could still hear her music and attend her performances, but she would not be violating any school rules or giving administrators a reason to punish her further. Maya called Carlos to share her idea. That is brilliant, Carlos said immediately. The park is so close that students can walk over during lunch and still make it back to class on time. But will people actually come? Maya wondered. It is one thing to listen when you are already at school. It is another thing to leave campus and cross the street. Are you kidding? Carlos replied. After everything that has happened, students are more eager than ever to hear you perform. I think you will be surprised by how many people show up. Maya spent the next few days planning her first off-campus concert. She contacted the city parks department to make sure she did not need any special permits for a small acoustic performance. She was relieved to learn that the park was open to the public and she was free to play music there as long as she was not being too loud or blocking walkways. Maya also reached out to some of the local musicians who had offered their support online. She was nervous about asking for help, but she thought having other performers might make the event more special. Jake Morrison, the coffee shop musician who had posted the supportive video, immediately agreed to join her. I would be honored to share the stage with you, he said. What you are doing takes real courage. Lisa Park, who sang at local folk music festivals, also volunteered to perform. Young people like you are the future of music, she told Maya. I want to be part of supporting that future. Maya decided to announce her park concert through social media, just like her supporters had been doing with the videos from her school performances. She posted a simple message. Since I cannot sing at school anymore, I am taking my music to Roosevelt Park. This Saturday at 1 p.m. everyone is welcome. Let us show that music cannot be silenced. The post was shared hundreds of times within hours. Students from Lincoln High School shared it with friends at other schools across the city. Parents who supported Maya shared it with their networks. Musicians and activists spread the word through their own social media accounts. Maya felt nervous as Saturday approached. She had never organized a public event before, and she had no idea how many people might show up. What if only a few students came and the whole thing was embarrassing? What if too many people came and she could not handle such a big crowd? Her mother helped calm her nerves. Whatever happens, you are doing something brave and important, she said. Focus on your music and your message. The rest will take care of itself. On Saturday morning, Maya arrived at Roosevelt Park an hour early to set up. She brought a small portable amplifier that Jake Morrison had lent her, along with a folding chair and her guitar. Carlos and several other friends came early to help arrange the space. As 1 p.m. approached, Maya watched with amazement as people began arriving from all directions. Students walked over from the high school and nearby neighborhoods. Parents came with younger children. Adults who had heard about Maya's story through news coverage and social media showed up to show their support. By the time Maya was ready to start performing, she estimated that over 300 people had gathered in the park. The crowd was much larger and more diverse than her school audiences had ever been. She saw students from Lincoln High School mixed with kids from other schools, young adults, middle-aged parents, and even some elderly community members who had come to support free expression. Maya took a deep breath and approached the microphone Jake Morrison had set up for her. Hello, everyone, she said, her voice carrying across the park through the small amplifier. Thank you so much for being here today. A few weeks ago, I was just a high school student singing songs during lunch break. Today, I am here because I believe that young people have the right to talk about issues that matter to us. The crowd applauded loudly. Maya could see some administrators from Lincoln High School watching from the school building across the street. But they could do nothing to stop an event happening in a public park. Maya began with the song that had gotten her in trouble with the school administration in the first place. It was about young people finding their voices and speaking up about problems in their communities. As she sang, Maya felt more confident than she had in weeks. This was her music, her message, and her choice. When she finished the first song, Jake Morrison joined her on stage. He played guitar while Maya sang a new song she had written about the importance of supporting each other through difficult times. The collaboration felt natural and powerful. Lisa Park performed next, singing a folk song about social justice movements throughout American history. She talked about how young people had always been leaders in pushing for positive change, from the civil rights movement to environmental activism. Maya represents the best tradition of young Americans who refuse to stay silent when they see injustice, Lisa told the crowd. We should all be inspired by her courage. Maya performed 3 more of her original songs, including the one about mental health that had generated some of the initial complaints. The diverse crowd listened respectfully and applauded enthusiastically after each song. But the most powerful moment came when Maya invited anyone in the audience to share their own stories or thoughts. A college student talked about struggling to pay for her education. A recent immigrant shared his experiences trying to fit in at a new school. A military veteran spoke about the importance of protecting free speech rights for all Americans. This is what my music has always been about, Maya told the crowd, creating spaces where people can share their real experiences and support each other. Local news stations had sent reporters to cover the event. Maya watched cameras recording as community members talked about why they had come to support her. Maya's songs speak to issues that affect all of our children, said one parent. Instead of trying to silence her, we should be listening to what young people are telling us about their lives. As the event wound down, Maya felt overwhelmed by the positive energy and community support. What had started as a response to being censored at school had turned into something much bigger and more meaningful. A local business owner approached Maya after her final song. I own the bookstore on Main Street, she said. Would you be interested in doing a regular monthly concert series? I think the community would love to have ongoing opportunities to hear your music and other local artists. Maya was amazed by the offer. In trying to silence her music, the school administration had accidentally helped her find a much bigger platform for her message. As people began leaving the park, many stopped to talk with Maya personally. Students thanked her for giving them courage to speak up about their own concerns. Adults praised her for bringing important issues to public attention in such a thoughtful way. Carlos helped Maya pack up her equipment, both of them still processing what they had just experienced. This was incredible, Carlos said. I think you reached more people today than in all of your school performances combined. Maya nodded, feeling tired but happy. It is strange how things work out, she said. They tried to stop my music, but instead they helped it grow bigger than I ever imagined. As Maya walked home that day, she realized that her relationship with her music had changed forever. She was no longer just a high school student singing during lunch break. She had become a community voice for young people who wanted to be heard, and this was only the beginning of what she could accomplish outside the school walls that had tried to contain her. The success of Maya's park concert created ripple effects that spread far beyond her local community. Within days of the event, Maya began receiving messages from students across the country who had seen videos of her performance online. They were facing similar struggles with school administrators who wanted to limit their ability to express themselves. A sophomore named David from Portland, Oregon wrote to Maya about being told he could not wear a t-shirt with environmental slogans to school. Your story gives me hope that I can fight back, he wrote. If you can stand up to your school district, maybe I can stand up to mine. From Atlanta, Georgia, a junior named Keisha shared her experience of having an article about racial inequality removed from the school newspaper by administrators who thought it was too controversial for a school publication. Maya, read every message carefully. Feeling a growing sense of responsibility, she realized that her individual fight for the right to perform her music had become part of a much larger movement of young people who wanted their voices to be heard. I feel like I accidentally became a spokesperson for something bigger than myself, Maya told her mother as she scrolled through dozens of emails from students seeking advice and support. Maybe it was not an accident, her mother replied. Maybe this was always meant to happen. Your music has always been about giving voice to people who feel unheard. Now you are doing that on a much bigger scale. Maya decided to use her growing platform to help other students facing similar challenges. She started a social media group called Voices, Unsilenced, where young people could share their stories and support each other through their struggles with censorship and administrative pushback. The group grew quickly. Within 2 weeks, over 500 students from dozens of schools had joined. They shared experiences, offered advice, and celebrated victories when students successfully defended their right to express themselves. Maya was amazed by the creativity and determination of the young people who joined the movement. A group of students in Texas organized a poetry slam in a public park after their school banned spoken word performances that addressed social issues. High school journalists in California created an independent online newspaper when their school administration censored their print publication Art. Students in Florida held an exhibition in a community center after their school removed paintings that depicted contemporary political themes. Music students in Colorado formed a band that performed at local coffee shops when their school prohibited them from playing original songs about social justice during school concerts. We are not just fighting for our individual rights, Maya said during a video call with student organizers from around the country. We are fighting for the principle that young people deserve to be taken seriously when we talk about issues that affect our lives. The legal challenge to Maya's suspension was also gaining momentum. Maria Santos from the ACLU had filed a formal complaint against the school district, arguing that Maya's constitutional rights had been violated. The case was attracting attention from legal experts who specialized in First Amendment issues. Professor Jennifer Martinez from the State University's law school wrote an article for a legal journal analyzing Maya's case. This situation represents a classic conflict between school administrative authority and student free speech rights, she wrote. The outcome could set an important precedent for similar cases across the country. The school district hired expensive lawyers to defend their actions, arguing that they had the authority to regulate student expression that they deemed disruptive or inappropriate for the educational environment. They pointed to Supreme Court cases that had limited student free speech rights in certain circumstances. But Maya's legal team argued that her lunchtime performances were more similar to the protected political speech that students wore on armbands in the famous Tinker case from 1969. They maintained that peaceful, voluntary gatherings during non-instructional time should be protected from administrative censorship. As the legal battle continued, Maya kept building the broader movement for student expression rights. She organized a regional conference where student activists could meet in person to share strategies and plan coordinated actions. Over 200 young people from 5 states attended the weekend conference, held at a community college that donated the space. The energy was incredible as students shared their experiences and learned from each other. Maya opened the conference with a performance of her song about finding courage to speak truth, even when it is difficult. But the most powerful moments came when other students took the microphone to share their own stories. A student named Marcus talked about organizing his classmates to petition for more diverse book selections in their school library after administrators removed novels that addressed racism and discrimination. Sarah described how she and her friends created an underground school newspaper when their official publication was censored for articles about student mental health resources and LGBTQ+ support services. Jamie shared the story of coordinating with students at multiple schools to wear matching shirts supporting immigrant rights, despite administrative attempts to ban political clothing. Each of us might feel small and powerless when we are fighting alone, Maya told the conference attendees. But together, we represent thousands of young voices that cannot be ignored. The conference resulted in the formation of a formal organization with Maya as its founding president. Voices Unsilenced became a registered nonprofit dedicated to supporting student expression rights through legal advocacy, community organizing, and mutual support networks. Local and national media covered the conference extensively. Maya found herself being interviewed by reporters from major newspapers and television networks who were interested in this new wave of student activism. What makes your movement different from previous generations of student protesters? asked one journalist. Maya thought carefully before answering. I think we understand that we are not just fighting against specific policies or administrators. We are fighting for the principle that young people have valuable perspectives that deserve to be heard. We are not asking adults to agree with everything we say. We are just asking for the right to say it. The movement continued to grow throughout the school year. Students organized expression days where young people at multiple schools would simultaneously engage in acts of peaceful speech and artistic expression. They created online resources to help students understand their legal rights and connect with supportive lawyers when needed. Maya also established partnerships with established civil rights organizations, musician advocacy groups, and free speech foundations who provided funding and strategic support for the growing movement. But perhaps the most meaningful aspect of the movement for Maya was the personal connections she made with other young activists. Through video calls, social media, and in-person meetings, she developed friendships with students who shared her commitment to social justice and free expression. Before this happened, I felt like the only person at my school who cared about these issues. Maya reflected during a strategy meeting with the organization's core leadership team. Now I am connected to hundreds of people my age who are working on similar problems in their own communities. The organization began planning larger actions for the following school year. They were organizing a National Day of Action, where students at schools across the country would simultaneously engage in creative expression about issues that mattered to them. Maya was scheduled to speak at several colleges about student rights and the power of music for social change. She was also working with a publisher who wanted to release an album of her songs, with proceeds going to support the Voices Unsilenced organization. As Maya's junior year of high school came to an end, she reflected on how much her life had changed since that first day she played guitar under the oak tree in the school courtyard. What started as a personal way of processing her feelings had become a national movement that was helping young people find their voices and defend their right to use them. The quiet girl who had once sat alone with her guitar had become a leader who was inspiring others to speak up for themselves and their communities. And Maya knew that this was only the beginning of what young people could accomplish when they worked together to make their voices heard. 1 year after Maya first picked up her guitar in the school courtyard, she stood on the steps of the state capitol building, looking out at a crowd of over 2,000 people. Students, parents, teachers, and activists had gathered to witness the signing of the Student Expression Protection Act, legislation that Maya's case had helped inspire. Governor Patricia Williams approached the podium with Maya standing beside her. The governor had followed Maya's story from the beginning and had become a strong supporter of the new law. Today we are not just signing a bill, Governor Williams announced to the crowd. We are affirming our commitment to the constitutional rights of young people and recognizing that their voices matter in our democracy. The Student Expression Protection Act established clear guidelines for when schools could and could not limit student speech. It required administrators to prove that student expression created substantial disruption before they could take disciplinary action. It also created an appeals process for students who felt their rights had been violated. Maya felt nervous as she was invited to speak at the ceremony. A year ago, she had been a shy high school student who rarely spoke up in class. Now she was addressing thousands of people and representing a movement that had spread to all 50 states. When I first started singing my songs at school, I never imagined it would lead to this moment, Maya began, her voice carrying clearly through the microphone. I was just trying to process my own experiences and connect with my classmates about issues that mattered to us. She paused and looked out at the diverse crowd, seeing students who had traveled from schools across the state to be present for this historic moment. What I learned is that young people have important things to say about the world we are growing up in. We care about social justice, environmental protection, mental health, educational equity, and many other issues that will shape our futures. We deserve the right to express our thoughts and feelings about these topics without fear of punishment. The crowd erupted in applause. Maya saw her mother and brother in the front row, beaming with pride. Her mother had taken the day off from both of her jobs to be present for this moment. After the ceremony, Maya was surrounded by reporters who wanted to know what she planned to do next. The attention still felt overwhelming sometimes, but Maya had learned to use media interviews as opportunities to highlight the work of other young activists. This law is just the beginning, Maya told the reporters. The Voices Unsilenced organization is now working with students in 12 other states who are pushing for similar legislation. We are also supporting individual students who are fighting censorship in their own schools. The legal case against Maya's school district had been settled 6 months earlier. The district agreed to change their policies regarding student expression and to provide training for administrators about First Amendment rights. Maya was also awarded a monetary settlement that she donated entirely to the Voices Unsilenced organization. Principal Johnson had resigned at the end of the previous school year, though he stated that his decision was not related to Maya's case. The new principal, Dr. Sarah Chen, had reached out to Maya personally to invite her back to perform at Lincoln High School. We want to create an environment where all students feel empowered to express themselves respectfully, Dr. Chen had told Maya. Your music and message would be welcome at our school. Maya had politely declined the invitation. She felt that returning to perform at Lincoln High School would be going backwards when she had found so many new opportunities to reach broader audiences. Instead, Maya had spent her senior year of high school traveling to speak at colleges, conferences, and community events. She had been featured in a documentary film about young activists that premiered at several film festivals. She had also recorded an album of her songs, with all proceeds supporting student expression rights advocacy. The impact of Maya's case extended far beyond legislation and legal precedents. Educational researchers began studying how her story had changed conversations about student voice and participation in schools. Several universities created scholarship programs for student activists who were working on social justice issues in their communities. Professor David Kim from Teachers College published a research study showing that schools which embraced student expression and encouraged civic engagement had higher levels of student satisfaction and academic achievement. Maya Rodriguez's case demonstrates that when we trust young people to engage meaningfully with important issues, everyone benefits, he wrote. Maya's story had also inspired changes in teacher education programs. Future educators now learned about student First Amendment rights as part of their training, and they practiced strategies for supporting student voice while maintaining appropriate classroom management. As Maya prepared to start college in the fall, she reflected on how the experience had changed her understanding of herself and her place in the world. She had been accepted to several prestigious universities with full scholarships, recognition for both her academic achievements and her advocacy work. Maya chose to attend a university with a strong social justice program where she could study the intersection of music, education, and civil rights law. She planned to continue developing her skills as both a musician and an activist. I want to spend my college years learning more about how social change happens, Maya explained to a reporter from her local newspaper. Music will always be important to me, but I also want to understand policy, law, and community organizing. The Voices Unsilenced organization had grown beyond what Maya ever imagined possible. It now had chapters in over 300 high schools across the country, with a staff of young organizers who coordinated campaigns and provided support to students facing censorship. Maya remained involved as the organization's founding president, but she had worked to develop other young leaders who could take on more responsibilities. She believed strongly that movements needed to be sustainable beyond any single person's involvement. One of Maya's proudest accomplishments was the creation of the Freedom of Expression Park in her hometown. The city council had voted to rename Roosevelt Park in honor of the movement that had started there. A small plaque near the spot where Maya held her first concert read, "This park represents the principle that all voices deserve to be heard, especially those of young people who are working to create a more just world." Maya visited the park regularly when she was home from her speaking engagements. She often found students from various schools practicing music or holding small gatherings to discuss social issues. The park had become a symbol of the power of public spaces to foster democratic participation. As Maya's high school graduation approached, she was invited to give the commencement speech at Lincoln High School. This time she accepted the invitation, seeing it as an opportunity to come full circle and inspire the next generation of student leaders. 4 years ago, I was sitting where you are now, wondering what I could possibly contribute to the world, Maya told her graduating classmates. I learned that each of us has a unique perspective and voice that matters. The question is not whether you have something important to say. The question is whether you will have the courage to say it. After graduation, Maya took a gap year to continue her advocacy work and to write a book about her experiences. The book, titled Finding Your Voice, A Young Person's Guide to Speaking Truth, became a bestseller and was adopted as required reading in many high school civics classes. Maya's story had been documented in multiple academic studies and was now taught in law schools as an example of how individual cases can create broader social change. Her name appeared alongside other famous First Amendment cases in constitutional law textbooks. But for Maya, the most meaningful impact was still the individual connections she made with students who reached out to share their own stories of finding their voice and standing up for their beliefs. Every time I get a message from a young person who says my story gave them courage to speak up about something important, I remember why this all started. Maya reflected during an interview on her 18th birthday. It was never about becoming famous or changing laws, even though those things happened. It was about creating space for authentic conversations about the issues that shape our lives. As Maya prepared to start the next chapter of her life in college, she knew that her work was far from over. The movement she had accidentally started was now in the hands of hundreds of other young leaders who were continuing to fight for their right to be heard. Maya Rodriguez had proven that one person with a guitar and something important to say could indeed make history. Her quiet lunchtime concerts had grown into a national movement that changed laws, policies, and most importantly, the way society thought about the voices and rights of young people. The girl who had once sat alone under an oak tree, processing her feelings through music, had become a lasting symbol of the power of authentic expression and the importance of never giving up on what you believe in, even when the whole world seems to be trying to silence you.